Hello, good evening, and welcome to my little observatory. My name is Nitsuki Subaru, and tonight I'd like to invite you on a little walk through the June night sky. May brought us warm days and the first hints of the humid air that signals the season ahead. Now, here in Japan, June is a month of transition. The fresh green of late spring deepens into early summer. The rainy season begins in many parts of the country, and the days continue to grow longer. There may be more clouds in the sky, but when the weather clears, June offers some beautiful sights. The sky itself is changing as well. The constellations of spring are now drifting westward in the evening sky, while the stars of summer slowly rise in the east. Low in the western sky just after sunset, two brilliant planets immediately catch the eye: Venus and Jupiter. We'll take a closer look at this planetary pairing later. If you're an early riser, turn to the eastern sky just before dawn and you'll find Saturn and Mars beginning to climb above the horizon. As the month progresses, both planets gradually rise higher in the morning sky, making them easier to spot towards the end of June. Now that we know where the planets will be, let's explore the changing constellations of June. Here we are looking southward at the sky as seen from Tokyo around 9 p.m. in the middle of June. Towards the west, the familiar constellations of spring slowly set, while the constellations of summer start to rise in the east. Before we meet the summer stars, let's take a last look at some of the familiar constellations that have guided us through the spring months. Look for the Big Dipper high in the night sky. If you remember from last month, arc to Arcturus, spike to Spica. Following the arc of the Big Dipper's handle, we arc to Arcturus in the constellation Bootes, the herdsman. Arcturus remains one of the brightest stars in the northern sky, glowing with a warm orange color. In Greek mythology, Bootes is often identified as a herdsman or guardian who watches over the nearby Great Bear, represented by Ursa Major. Continuing along this curve, we now spike to Spica, the brightest star in Virgo, the Maiden. The name Spica means ear of grain, and the star traditionally represents a sheaf of wheat held by Virgo. Now let's turn our attention to Leo, the lion. Leo is easy to recognize if you can find the distinctive backwards question mark or sickle shape. This marks the lion's head and chest. At the heart of Leo, we find Regulus, whose name means Little King. Leo is one of the oldest constellations in the sky and is commonly associated with the Nemean lion, the legendary beast defeated by Hercules. At the opposite end of the constellation lies Denebola, marking the lion's tail. Denebola forms the third corner of the large asterism known as the Spring Triangle. As this familiar pattern drifts towards the western horizon, another famous triangle is beginning to rise in the east. Three bright stars dominate this part of the sky and form the easily recognizable pattern known as the Summer Triangle. The bright star Vega rises in Lyra the Harp. Nearby, Deneb marks the tail of Cygnus the Swan. And lower in the eastern sky, Altair appears in Aquila the Eagle. Throughout summer, the triangle serves as a useful guide for finding many of the season's constellations. Vega, the brightest star of the summer triangle and the fifth brightest in the entire night sky, shines with a striking bluish-white color. Vega belongs to the small constellation of Lyra the Lyre, an ancient stringed instrument. About 12,000 years ago, Vega served as the North Star due to the slow wobble of Earth's rotational axis, a motion known as axial precession. Vega will reclaim the title of North Star around the year 14,000, so if you're still around then, you'll have quite a different view of the night sky. In Japanese tradition, Vega is known as Orihime, the weaving princess. The second star of the triangle is Deneb, marking the tail of Cygnus the swan. Cygnus stretches across the sky in the shape of a large cross, sometimes called the Northern Cross. Though Deneb appears slightly fainter than Vega in the sky, it is actually one of the most luminous stars known. It only appears fainter because it lies so incredibly far from us. The light from Deneb takes more than 1,000 years to reach Earth, while light from Vega takes only about 25 years. The third star is Altair, the brightest star in Aquila the Eagle. Altair is one of the closest bright stars to our solar system, and one of its notable features is its remarkably fast rotation. It spins so quickly that it is noticeably flattened at its poles. Altair rotates so rapidly that it completes one rotation in less than 10 hours. By comparison, our Sun takes about 27 days to rotate once. In Japanese tradition, Altair is known as Hikoboshi, the cowherd star. Orihime, represented by Vega, and Hikoboshi are the lovers at the heart of one of Japan's most beloved seasonal stories. The two are said to be lovers separated by the Milky Way, which in the story becomes a great celestial river. Only once a year are they permitted to meet, crossing the celestial river when the skies are clear. As the summer progresses, the summer triangle will climb higher into the sky each evening, becoming one of the defining sights of the season and a familiar companion on warm summer nights. As the nights grow later and the sky becomes darker, the Milky Way also begins to emerge across the summer sky. Although city lights can make it difficult to see, under dark skies, the summer triangle serves as an excellent guide to finding the Milky Way stretching overhead. If you have a clear night this month, take a moment to look up and watch the sky change as the evenings progress. The familiar stars of spring drift slowly towards the western horizon while the summer triangle climbs higher in the east. And as the darkness deepens, the faint glow of our own galaxy begins to reveal itself overhead. Now that we've explored some of the summer sky, let's take a look at some of the notable celestial events happening this month. On June 6th, we have Boshu, one of the traditional season markers in the Japanese seasonal calendar. Historically, this marked the period when rice planting would begin as the rainy season, Tsuyu, gradually approached. A few days later, on June 11th, we reached Newby, which traditionally marks the beginning of the rainy season. During this time of year, humid air and cloudy skies often become more common across much of Japan. The exact weather differs from year to year and from region to region, but culturally, June is strongly connected with Tsuyu, the season of rain, hydrangeas, and the misty landscapes. Even so, rainy season does not mean the sky is hidden every night. When the clouds part, the stars often feel all the more precious for it. One of the highlights of June occurs between the evenings of June 8th and 10th, when Venus and Jupiter appear very close together in the western sky after sunset. Venus is the brighter of the two, standing out as one of the brightest objects in the night sky. Nearby, Jupiter glows with a steadier golden light. Together, the pair should be easy to spot even from locations affected by city lights. If you watch them over several evenings, you can see their apparent separation change little by little. Because Venus is much closer to Earth than Jupiter, its position against the background stars changes more noticeably from night to night. It's a simple but beautiful reminder that the planets are constantly moving through space as they orbit the Sun. On June 15th, we have the new moon. At new moon, the moon lies in roughly the same direction as the Sun, so its sunlit side faces away from us. As a result, the moon is difficult or impossible to see in the night sky. The nights around new moon are usually the darkest of the month, making them ideal for observing fainter stars, nebulae, galaxies, and deep sky objects. In June, however, the combination of short nights and rainy season weather may make those opportunities a little rare. So if you find yourself beneath a clear moonless sky this month, be sure to take advantage of it. On June 16th, Mercury reaches greatest eastern elongation. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, so from Earth it never appears very far from the Sun in the sky. As a result, Mercury is often difficult to observe, usually hidden in the bright glow of dawn or dusk. Around greatest elongation, however, Mercury appears further from the Sun than usual, giving us one of the best opportunities to see the innermost planet for ourselves. Despite being visible to the naked eye, Mercury is often considered the most difficult of the classical planets to observe. Throughout much of June, Mercury can be found low in the western sky shortly after sunset. From late May through most of June, Mercury remains more than 10 degrees above the horizon, about 30 minutes after sunset as seen from Tokyo. Even so, because it will appear quite low in the sky, you will need an observing location with a clear, unobstructed view toward the western horizon. If the twilight makes Mercury hard to find, binoculars can help. However, please wait until the sun has completely set before using binoculars and never point them anywhere near the sun. Also on June 16th, a very thin crescent moon joins Mercury in the western twilight. The moon will only be about 1 day old, appearing as a delicate thread of light close to the horizon. This will be a challenging observation. Both the moon and Mercury are low, and the sky will still be bright after sunset. If you want to try, check their direction in advance, choose an open western horizon, and begin only after the sun has gone down. On June 17th, the crescent moon becomes easier to see than it was the night before. This evening, it passes near Jupiter. The moon will be about 2 days old, and Jupiter's brightness will make the pairing stand out nicely in the twilight. Venus will still be nearby as well, creating a beautiful gathering of the moon and the two brightest planets of the evening sky. Then on June 18th, the growing crescent moon moves further east, creating one of the prettiest arrangements of the month. From high to low, look for the thin crescent moon, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury arranged in a gentle slant across the western sky. Venus will be the easiest to notice because it's so bright. Jupiter should also be clear, while Mercury will sit lower and may take more effort to find. Try using the brighter objects as guideposts. Start with Venus, look towards Jupiter, and finally let your eyes move downward toward the horizon to search for Mercury. Together, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury create a beautiful chain of objects stretching across the twilight sky, a fitting reward for anyone fortunate enough to have clear skies that evening. On June 21st, we reach the summer solstice, one of the major turning points of the year. This is the day when the sun appears at its northernmost point in the sky, bringing the longest day and shortest nights of the year in the northern hemisphere. Although the exact weather depends on location, this period marks the height of early summer sunlight here in Japan. For stargazers, this means the night begins slowly. There's something peaceful about those lingering summer evenings, the long fade from gold to blue and then from blue into the first stars. After the solstice, the days will very slowly begin to shorten again, but for now, twilight lingers well into the evening and the night sky takes its time to appear. On June 22nd, the moon reaches first quarter. At this phase, half of the moon's visible face is illuminated. This is one of the best times to observe the moon with binoculars or a telescope. Along the line dividing lunar day and night, known as the terminator, long shadows reveal craters, mountains, and ridges with remarkable clarity. Even a small pair of binoculars can reveal an impressive amount of detail at this phase. Before sunrise, the eastern sky has its own planetary scene. Saturn can be found from the east to the southeast before dawn, gradually climbing higher as the month progresses and becoming easier to observe. With a small telescope, Saturn's famous ring system may already be visible, making it one of the most rewarding targets in the morning sky. Mars is also visible before sunrise. At the beginning of June, it's still quite low, but by the end of the month, it climbs noticeably higher and becomes easier to find. Mars is much dimmer than Venus or Jupiter this month, but its distinctive red color can still help it stand out once you know where to look. Finally, on June 30th, we reach the full moon. At full moon, the moon rises around sunset and remains visible through the night, shining opposite the sun in the sky. Its bright light can wash out fainter stars, making it less than ideal for deep sky observing, but the full moon has plenty of beauty all on its own. On a humid June evening, especially when thin clouds drift overhead, moonlight can glow softly through the atmosphere and make the entire sky feel luminous. Sometimes, even on a night when the stars are hidden by moonlight, simply spending a few moments beneath the full moon can be an experience worth remembering. So tonight, we've walked through the June sky. We watched the familiar constellations of spring drift towards the western horizon, while the summer triangle began its climb into the eastern sky. Along the way, we explored some of this month's highlights: the close approach of Venus and Jupiter, Mercury at greatest eastern elongation, the delicate crescent moon passing the evening planets, Saturn and Mars before dawn, and the summer solstice marking the longest day of the year. June can be a cloudy month here in Japan, but that makes the clear nights feel even more special. So if the sky opens up for a little while, step outside. Look west after sunset for the planets, or look east later in the evening for the bright stars of the summer triangle. As the sky brightens and a new day begins, I'd like to thank you for spending this moment with me. Rest easy, and I wish you all clear skies and calm nights.